Jason, welcome to my kitchen. Thank you so much for doing the podcast today.
No problem. Thanks for inviting me.
All our guests I buy a present for, and I didn't know what to buy you because I know you don't drink anymore, do you?
No.
I usually buy people wine or special beers or something like that. But I thought of something and it came to me, so I went and bought it, and it's Manuka honey. And I bought this because it's apparently really good for your throat.
That's incredible. It's almost as if you'd just spoken to my wife or something. And this is the good stuff as well, isn't it?
Well, because I don't want to sound cheap here, and I don't want to be uncouth, but I went into the shop and I thought I'd buy him a bottle of Manuka honey.
That's proper.
It's 24 quid that, and I was like, what?
That's like a decent Christmas present. Oh, really? I'll tie, you know what I mean?
And it was one of those ones where I went up, that typical thing where you go up to the counter and you say, I'll have that, and they went, I think it was $23.95 or something. What? It's more than I spend on wine.
Yeah, it's a lot of dough.
Do you think it works, that stuff?
Yeah, it does.
Does it?
Yeah, it does, definitely. I have it. You're supposed to have 1 spoon a day, but I have a couple.
Do you?
One before the gig and one after.
So you use it anyway?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Constantly.
Oh,
when you're touring, that's it. And I use this thing called Singer's Tea. It's like a herbal type thing.
Yeah.
That works. Just that and that, bang, and then 20 minutes sort of warming your voice up.
Yeah.
And you're away.
Have you got into the stage where you make your own tea yet? You roll your own tea?
No.
Johnny Marr came on Sunday Brunch once. I've known Johnny for years, and he's out the back and he's like rolling this tea bag. I'm thinking, what's he doing? Is he like doing drugs in the studio? I said, Johnny, what are you doing? He goes, I make my own tea now. I take a bit of this and a bit of that, and I do it all. That is brilliant. So he makes his concoction of tea. So anyway, I thought it'd be good for you. I've seen you a couple of times live, and you definitely go through. Your throat goes through it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It does. But not smoking or drinking helps, and doing all the other nasty things that completely knocks about 70% of it away.
So how long haven't you been drinking for then?
2.5 years.
And do you feel
just over 2 years?
Do you feel a lot better for it?
Yeah, I do.
Was it a mental thing or a physical thing? Why did you
both? Yeah, it's just like I was getting in trouble. I mean, I was at it for like 25 years. It's come from we're similar age, rave generation. You know what I mean? When it all kicked off and clubbing and all that. So it just steamrolled from then. But you just don't think about it because you're young, your body can take it, and you're not necessarily in a bit of a rut. But you get to like 34, 35, it starts. Well, the game I wanted to get into, which was music, was obviously there's no formal training. There's no, you know what I mean? So you just have to learn and then hope to look after yourself the best you can. So you do, crap jobs and stuff and blah, blah, blah. And all of that just gets on top of you, and your drinking increases, everything else increases, narcotics or whatever. So, it steamrolled really. And when Sleaford took off, that's when it was getting really problematic. So when it took off, it was like, oh, I've got dough now. So, hello, mate. Yeah, I'll have 5, Yeah. So it's like, then it just exploded. Fortunately, I'd met my soon-to-be wife, Claire, who totally sorted me out.
You get married?
Oh, we did.
Sorry, you did get married. Yeah, right, I see.
We were together a few years.
Okay, so yeah, that's always a problem with bands. I used to present and produce Soccer M, and we used to book bands all the time, and then they used to pull out with this thing which was what did it call it? Tour fatigue or exhaustion. They're suffering from exhaustion. And I know I used to tour with bands as well, selling merch. And if you do drinking and everything else every night of the week, it soon takes its toll. It's really hard work.
Yeah, big time. I mean, they say it's a young person's game. It's not even a young person's game,
Yeah.
It's just not. It just eventually it will just smack you about. I mean, you got to have a laugh. You have.
Yeah.
But,
so do you miss it?
Yeah, of course you do. It's like, I'd be a fool if I tried to say anything else, really. I mean, not as much as I did. I expected another 2 years. I probably won't miss it at all. But I love the pub.
Yeah.
Drugs, take it or leave it. Well, but I love the pub. Sitting down, having a pint, 2 pints, some strong ale, roll a cigarette, go outside, have your cigarette. Beautiful, and I can't do that anymore. But there's plenty of other things I can do, which is I can experience the mornings. The mornings are a completely new thing. It's every morning now is just like, whoa. Doesn't matter where you are, it's just like smashing. I'm, more or less pretty confident these days. I'm focused. Do you know what I mean?
But you replaced it with exercise, yeah?
Yeah.
So when I gave up smoking, I did that. I was always into exercise anyway. But when I gave up smoking, I thought, I've got to replace this with something. So I started running. And running, like Forrest Gump, I was running and running. Every time I wanted a cigarette, I thought, go for a run. And it kind of works if you replace something with something.
Oh, definitely.
You're doing a lot of weight training, is that right?
I mean, I'd started running way back in the 90s.
Right.
Because I just thought, And so I started running 2-3 times a week.
Yeah.
And then I joined the gym, but it was never serious. But the running I kept up. So, but I started weight training about 2 years ago. As soon as I got myself hooked up with a psychologist who sort of saw me 4 times a month.
Right.
Once every week, sorry. So, and psychotherapy, I think it's called, yeah. So, I did that, and then I got hooked up with this personal trainer, and he sort of showed me the ropes and just, saw me 2-3 times a week. And it took my mind off the kind of, getting used to not drinking, not getting drugged up. Takes your mind off guilt, because that's a big thing. That kicks in as soon as you sober up, do you know what I mean?
What sort of guilt?
Just guilt about everything, And depression kicks in, paranoia, you know what I mean? So adjusting to all of that and overcoming that was, the weightlifting helped, do you know what I mean?
But do you feel like you're turning your back on rock and roll, though, when you do it? Because obviously...
I mean, we weren't rock and roll anyway. I mean, we were kind of anti-rock and roll. The whole decadent kind of myth of, getting wasted, elegantly wasted. I hated it. It'd been repressed and repressed and repressed. And I think the mid-90s was kind of the last time that it could have been done respectfully, with bands like Oasis, etc., In many respects, probably them. Arguably, the Libertines were probably the last rock and roll bands, UK rock and roll bands, But we hated that. So no, it was just that I love drugs. I love getting drunk, So no, I don't feel like I've turned my back on it.
I never really did the drug thing. But I drunk so much, and I wonder if it's a British disease that, like, whenever you go abroad, it's always the Brits, isn't it?
Oh God, yeah.
Why is it we all binge drink all the time and stuff? It's part of our culture.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Oh, put your bags in. Let's go down the pub.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's always been like that, hasn't it? Because I think we're quite oppressed as a nation, aren't we? You've got this tiny island with still a ruling elite, and they're sort of forcing their ideals onto everybody. And in some respects, subconsciously, you adhere to it, You're still capped off him. We're still a nation of capped offers in a way. So I think in order to ease that, you just get drunk, don't you? That's the way,
There's a great podcast I did you'd enjoy it with a guy called Robert Vercake, who's wrote a book called Posh Boys about how the elite still run the country, and they keep passing the power down via the schools and everything else.
Yeah.
And when I discussed that with my friends, what was interesting is no one engages in it. When I say, look, it's really hard. I'm not anti, by the way, anyone sending their kids. I don't think there should be private schools, faith schools, same-sex schools, grammar schools. I think we should all go to the same school like they do in the rest of the world.
Sure.
But I'm not anti it. It exists, and I think if you want to do it, fine, do it. So I'm not. But when I talk to my friends about it, they seem to just go, "What the hell are you talking about, Tim? Like, it is what it is." And I think we so accept what we've got
completely, yeah.
And we never question it.
No, never.
And it really, I've really struggled with the idea of working class people go, I'm working class and that's cool, rather than, well, I want what they've got. And then all the different classes can't go, why can't we all be the sort of same? It's kind of, we settle for our lot in this country for some reason.
We do. It's been ingrained, and it goes from generation to generation. Even those that say they're standing up against it, you're not. You want to nip over to France, see how they do it. Do you know what I mean? I think we're a nation of moaners as well. It's just,
we are.
We're just like a moan. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm the same. My mum was the same. Everyone is sat in the pub. Oh yeah. It's the same. Oh yeah. I can't. But we never do anything about it.
Oh.
And will that carry on? Yeah, I can't see it.
Do you think I suffer from depression, and that's what I latterly realised that's why I started this podcast. Mark and I were sitting around one day going, let's do a podcast, and we started, let's do an agony aunt podcast. That's how this all started, and we end up doing all this stuff now. And it started with me moaning on about, well, not moaning actually, just trying to help out with people's problems, but also discussing the fact that I've suffered, and suffered, is that the right word? I've had depression. Well,
Well, you don't you?
I'm not sure it's suffering, though, because what it means, I think, depression is that it's your way, your body and your mind saying you need to change your life, basically. That's what it is. It's like change. I see it now as a good thing, but you've got to go, wow, I need to look at my life and move it on somehow. But I think we all get to that age where you start looking at yourself and going, what's going on? Where am I? And I think that's when you start realising you've got a bit of depression. Do you think that, or how does it
I think everybody
itself?
suffers from it. You know, it's inherent in everybody, I think. You're not supposed to be content all the time, confident, happy. You're not supposed to feel positive all the time, you know. That's just the tragedy of life, isn't it? You know, it's we are living organisms that aren't going to adhere to any notion of you know, something that's meant to be good for us constantly, you know what I mean? So I think depression's ingrained, you know, and there's all sorts of forms of it, and you know, it can be heavy. Some people have it, you know, slightly. Some people are completely laboured with it, you know. So it's not for me to kind of decipher, I suppose. You know, somebody else far more suited could explain the various stages of it. But I definitely think, you know, at some point everybody will experience that kind of feeling, you know.
How does performing help?
It takes your mind off it for an hour, and you can have a laugh, you know. I like to have it. Sometimes sometimes you don't enjoy the gigs, sometimes you're nervous about forgetting the words, but generally you get on stage and it's you just have a laugh, you know what I mean?
I've seen you a couple of times, and I've got to say, go and see Sleaford Mods if you get a chance, because it is a brilliant experience. The first time was because John Bradbury put me onto you. Brad in the Specials became a very good friend of mine. Specials my favourite band of all time. Said you got to start listening to Sleaford Mods and all that. He was a big fan of yours, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Sadly, he's passed away now,
he
he just loved music, and he used to always be going, Tim, have you heard Rudimental's new stuff, or have you heard this? And he was I loved his passion for it. But he put me onto you, and you played with Specials at the Roundhouse, didn't you? Which is good, because you're going back there.
Yes, 2 nights next week.
Fantastic.
Friday, Saturday, I think. Next Friday and Saturday.
That'd be unbelievable, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
what an atmosphere.
Great, yeah.
And the second time I saw you was at Glastonbury.
Yeah.
And what was brilliant about that is I didn't know you were on. I was one of those brilliant things that I was walking a little bit half cart down. It was really quite early, actually, down, and I was with a load of mates in the music industry, and I went, Sleaford Mods. Went in there, and the atmosphere in that tent was unbelievable. My mates who were in the music industry had not seen you before either, and they came away going, that's the best gig of Glastonbury. Because the energy you provide.
When was that?
How many years ago was that?
Was it the first or second one? I don't know, a
About
couple of years ago?
A couple of years ago, yeah. 3 years ago.
Oh, that's all right. And yeah, I thought that one wasn't very good. First one we did was even worse, but apparently people enjoyed it.
The atmosphere at the last.
I know, yeah.
It was brilliant.
I know.
And that tent, it was amazing.
I was just a bit diva-ish. How was it? Pass me a towel.
I just thought it was amazing. It's so funny, isn't it? How you see your own gigs and how everyone else sees it.
Yeah. You just because London audiences tend to be quite quiet and they just listen. You know, further north you go, they're a bit more raucous, but yeah, it depends. You know, it depends. But sometimes I'm happy, other times you feel a bit.
Do you get more out of the live experience though?
Yeah. It's where you connect, and it's what proof's in the pudding live.
Yeah.
You can't hide it. You know what I mean? So it's like you can have 85 million followers on Instagram or whatever. And you can get on stage and it's just like watching someone eat a chocolate bar, you know what I mean? It's like seeing it time and time again at festivals. It's like, the corporate back bands are like, they're just images, you know what I mean? So the proof's in the pudding, and it's real sort of factory floor business, you know, what we do.
Yeah, and you must love your fans as well. They must be.
They're wicked. A lot of the time. Sometimes it can be nasty. Sometimes I can be nasty.
How did you start though? Because it's such an unusual concept, isn't it? Really, there's nothing like you out there.
No, We did, well, I got bang into hip-hop and stuff. And I was doing lots of electronica projects that weren't going anywhere. And so I'd been working with this engineer guy, and I said to him, look, I've got this idea, you know. I've got some loops from records I like. And I'm going to do something over the top of it. And so he agreed to do it, and that's how it started. And it was partly wanting to try and rap, but then as soon as I started it, it sounded quite punky. So I thought I'll take advantage of that. So I got into my memory bank and drew back from all the old punk bands that I used to listen to as a kid, and kind of brought that back in and started using that again. Also, at the time, I was just sick of going back to what we were saying earlier about this decadence thing and the guitar bands and rock and roll, and it was still going on, and it was like, oh God. So, it seemed really like a real big two fingers up, which is what I wanted. So I kind of, really manipulated the punk thing and then tried to work on my idea of what a rap should sound like coming from me, you know what I mean?
Yeah, especially keeping your accent.
Yeah, it's got to be truthful, and I kept listening to rappers and listening to how they did it, and where they were from in the world, wherever, blah blah blah, and well, that's just how they talk. So that's what I thought I'd do,
But then, were you conscious that it was going to be tough to commercialise it? I'm sure you don't want to be commercial,
no.
but
at the time, I just wanted to write good music. It's like that was the aim, to write really good stuff that was untouchable, and stuff that made people come to you. I mean, initially nobody came to us. It took a while, but as soon as I did the first few demos, it was like, this is it.
Yeah.
I was in absolute throes of, it was a eureka moment. It was like, this is it.
But how did the music industry take you?
Well, they just ignored it. Just totally ignored it. And I tried doing the London circuit for a bit, the toilet circuit. And I had a manager down there, lovely bloke called Martin Myers, who helped me out for a bit. But it just didn't take off, We were using samples, so that was a problem as well. The swearing, obviously, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then I kind of met Andrew. I moved back to Nottingham, met my wife Claire, met Andrew, and we started recording stuff with homegrown music, didn't have to rely on samples. And then we met Steve, our manager, who ran a small sort of record label, sort of very, very underground sort of thing, electronica, punk, noise label, post-punk, etc., called Harbinger Sound. And he sort of said, I think you should release an album, So that's what we did, and we ain't looked back. We had all these connections in Europe, so we played that game, went to Europe and started gigging over there, and that's when the press in England started taking notice, and that's when gig bookers started taking notice after that. So
how quickly did you get a fan base, though?
It didn't take long. After we released the first album, Austerity Dogs, it didn't take long. I mean, I'd already had some kind of a form of a fan base with all the older stuff online, MySpace and all that. So when Austerity Dogs came out, that's when it started steamrolling. We did a gig in Belgium, a place called the Crack Festival, and they basically put on acts that are quite interesting. Richard Dawson, I don't know if you've heard of him, kind of folk guy from up Newcastle way. He was on the bill as well, and there were a few others, and that's when it started kicking off.
Right. Do you? Is it tough though? Because the way the music industry works is you get a following, then you get airplay on radio and stuff like that, and obviously they must struggle to play you.
Yeah, they do a bit. I mean, I started tailoring music for radio right from the off, really, trying to formulate songs instead of just rants, And so that was always there. So it was kind of, we did have a few things, but it took a while to seep in, you know what I mean?
Do you think, music, because is there enough people saying stuff out there, do you think? Like, you talk about the grime scene and stuff. And
grime and drill especially at the minute that's the boy, really.
Someone was telling me the other day with the drill, some of the acts are putting up, like, a track a day on Instagram
doing albums.
and stuff like that.
They're doing albums,
just
2 albums a year, you know what I mean? Some of them, it's like probably more, EPs. They call them EPs, But they're long players, 12, 13, 14 tracks, But it's music but it's music evolving right before your eyes, you know. I love stuff like that. I'll always be interested in stuff like that. You know, rap, even rap from the 80s still sounds properly fresh, you know.
Yeah.
It's just that the whole idea of the minimalism of it, and so much the aggression, but the amount of things you can get out on the vocal.
Right, so because I was saying, because I was saying to a mate of mine in the music industry where all the bands that are saying something, and he said it's called drill, mate. Go online and look at it. That's where everyone's saying stuff.
That's all it is,
and is that? Do you think there will ever be the bands back again then who are actually going to say
stuff?
I mean,
you know, current indie's in a right mess. I think I'm not into it at all. It's just a bit stale. Some American bands are interesting. The OCs. There's some kind of more established English acts, guitarists. Little Barry for a start, you know, stuff like that. Brian Jonestown Massacre, they're constantly releasing interesting stuff. You know, Beak, but you wouldn't put Jeff Barrow's Beak band. You wouldn't necessarily put those in an indie category. Right. You know what I mean? I guess, but as regards to bass, drums, guitar, vocal, you know, piano, organ, whatever, keyboards, they're kind of interesting, but you know. Sort of, I don't know, chart indie, current indie, young indie. It's not working for me at all. Really.
But do you get? Is it hard for you when you're doing social commentary all the time? A lot of your work is. Does that get pressurised after a while?
No, it doesn't. Not really.
Well, you know what I mean by that is you're feeling depressed.
Yeah.
You have some depression and stuff, and then you're writing about the world and everything. You know, because I try and avoid the news like hell at the moment.
I don't even watch it. I've stopped reading newspapers. I can't watch the news. I can't do it because it's just going one way, really. And also, it's very. There's a lot of bias there, you know. So no, I can't do it. But yeah, if I'm feeling low, it helps definitely. You get more out if you're feeling low because you just don't care. So you just put whatever, and it's usually you've trained yourself to do it over 20 odd years. So you're not going to put absolute crap down. You know, you're going to word it really nicely. But if you're feeling down, yeah, it helps definitely.
What do you think of the world at the moment? What are you making of our country and Brexit?
I don't know. You know, I've moved to a slightly posher area in Nottingham, and you kind of get cut off, which is weird. You know, I'm not in old Nottingham, although I'm in a part called West Bridgeford, which is older than the other side of Nottingham, across the river. Yeah. But I just sit about all day. I don't do a lot. I don't see many people. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like you're touring. You come home, you look after your kids, you spend time with your wife, you go to the park. That's it. You know what I mean?
Where else do you tour, Sleaford Mods?
All over the place.
Do you do Europe?
Yes,
or most
Europe.
Europe. Do you ever go to the States?
We did, yeah, but it just don't pay. You know what I mean? I don't want to sound like I'm after the dough, but I mean it's like it's God knows how much, £12,000, £12,000 to get a working permit, something like that, 20 grand or whatever. Yeah. Forget it. You're not getting anything back unless you're, you know, massive. Yeah. Ed Sheeran or something. You know, well, I don't even know if he's big in America, is he?
Yeah,
I think he is, isn't he? Is he?
He's huge,
right. You know, unless you're a stadium act, forget it.
Well, where about in Europe though? Can everyone gets it? Everyone understands it?
Yeah, they love it. We're probably bigger in Europe than we are here.
Oh, really? Whereabouts? What
territories?
Germany.
France is getting big for us. Sweden, that's getting big.
All right, so you travel the world and you understand. What do you make of Europe then at the moment? Do you ever get do you get any feelings of Europe content being Europe, or do you think
they just seem a bit more advanced and a bit more intelligent? You know. It's kind of like going from a chip wrapper to a luxurious penthouse flat when you fly from England to wherever in Europe. But I mean, you know, I'm only a spectator when I go over. Right. It's like you got to live there, and they do have the problems. All of the countries have their problems. Germany, France, Spain, Italy. Especially Italy, you know, Spain. It's not good there.
Oh, the rise of the far right at the moment in Europe is very scary.
It's getting quite scary. Yeah,
it is. What's Nottingham like then? Because I'm always intrigued by Nottingham, because when I grew up, it had the biggest football team in the world according to my head, because they were winning Europe all the time with Forest. Did those football clubs mean anything? Do you think in a town like Nottingham?
Yeah. Still do.
So when they drop off like they did, does that have an effect on the town, do you think?
Yeah, it probably does. I mean, I'm not a football fan. I never have been, but I've got plenty of mates who are, and I think, yeah, it does. You know, that pride of having a winning team.
Yeah.
You know, it does something to the city. But at the same time, that pride's remained intact. You know, I live near the Forest Ground, and you see them walking there in their droves, you know, parking up, getting out the cars, proud as punch, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's something quite good about, well, there's something really nice about that, you know. And you can hear them from the ground when they score or when they're just cheering away, you know what I mean? It is something, it's quite something, you know.
What's the Nottingham area like then? Is it good for music?
It's all right. It's okay. I mean, I don't know, wherever. I mean, people are like, oh, you got to go here. Well, why? If you ain't got the ideas, it don't matter where you are. You could be in, I don't know, Elvis Presley's front living room, and if you ain't got the ideas, forget it. So, don't know. I moved up from London in '96. I've been in London for 3 years and trying to get a band going. I couldn't afford it, you know. I was working in shops, and it was just like getting too tight. So I moved to Nottingham because, you know, I'm from Grantham, which is just down the road, and a few mates had moved to Notts, and they're like, you want to come up, you know. And we used to go clubbing there anyway, so I knew it. So I moved up there, and when I moved up, it was horrible. What have I done? You know what I mean? It was terrible. It's small.
So have you always been into music? Have you always done music?
Yeah, big time. At school, that was all there was. That and smoking, you know. And, yeah, that was it.
And you mentioned earlier part of the, you like the rave scene, the dance culture back in those days. I remember it. It was kind of an amazing thing when it first came along.
Yeah, fantastic.
It was unbelievable.
Oh God, it was unreal.
It's really hard to explain it to people.
I know
but when all the stuff started happening in London, and you were like, I was at those clubs like Club Trick and Shoom and all that lot, and you sort of stood with your shirt off in a pair of shorts, going like that, dancing all night. You just sound like such a knob, but at the time it was so amazing.
It was unbelievable. I mean, it was just like, I mean, I didn't go to Shoom or anything like that. I went to the Hacienda once, that was terrible. But we used to go to a place called Venus in Nottingham.
Right.
And that was around sort of 1990. I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. You'd walk in and there'd be like some bloke walking around the bar with a guitar, and I'd be like, "Who's that?" Oh, he's from some rock band or something. You're like mad, some famous rock band, you know. It's like, oh wow, you know.
Yeah.
I was seeing, you know, you're getting off your nut, and Boy George is DJing, and you know, it was just unbelievable. And all these weird people walking around. It was,
yeah, and everyone was dressing up. So it's kind of strangely, and it was just that mad thing of the football terraces, which I used to like football a bit. Was well, a lot, but they were kind of very violent. Yet the nightclub scene, everyone loved each other.
Well, this is it. It was full of football people, and you know, clubbers or whatever, you know, and everybody sort of came together.
And there seemed to be that sort of mad thing. Cheesy. What?
Without trying to sound cheesy, came together.
Yeah, no, but it was because it was that mad thing where it was a mixture of everybody. Yeah. It was just kind of everybody was lumped into, hey, let's listen to this new music. And it's kind of, I try and explain it to people, and you just sound like such a knob when you do it. It's just so.
Well, yeah, but I won't forget it. You know, some of those nights, just random situations. I'll never forget.
Yeah.
You know?
Though I ended up working I heard you in an interview not so long ago, and you were talking about going to the gardening club in Covent Garden.
Oh yeah.
I was one of the bar managers there.
Oh, was you? What year was that?
I don't know. That would have been 90. I don't know. I just can't. It was before I worked in TV. What I was trying to do is work in TV at the time. So what I did was I'd work there, make enough money to do show reels and stuff.
Oh, okay.
There was various nights at the gardening club. So there was like the sort of house nights and stuff like that. The sort of you know, the dancey sort of nights. Then there was a night called Tung Kung Fu, which was hysterical. It was run by the acid jazz scene sort of thing. Or what are those guys called? Those bands, Galliano and all that.
Galliano,
they used to run this night, and then there was Queer Nation was on there as well.
Yeah.
I used to do them all, but at weekends it was definitely the club guys. And Jesus Christ, the state of people. When you're sober working in a bar, the state of people.
That place was just, because it was underground,
yeah,
wasn't it?
And it was so hot and
the
sweaty.
ceilings were so low and like, it was great.
You should see it. It wasn't great from where I was because I was working it, and honestly, that place was such a sweatbox. And it was absolutely incredible. And then what used to happen? I just remembered this when you were coming in today, that at the time people used to come along, and the bar people weren't quite used to in that place the sort of drug cultures. They were trying to flog alcohol non-stop, but by the time you got to whatever time in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, people didn't want to drink. They wanted water, so they come to the bar and ask for tap water, and we were told, don't give free tap water, only sell it to them. So we were just selling. You can't imagine that now, because you just get glasses of tap water, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So they were all in the toilets drinking. Everyone was drinking water out the toilets.
I remember,
And then they put signs up going, "This is not drinking water," because they were trying to flog water to everyone.
Incredible.
Yeah.
The power of the masses, really. That's how I got it. People stuck together, and it was almost like, you made your own rules. All right, you was in a club doing this, that, and the other. It wasn't really breaking out at all, but it felt like it.
Yeah. It was just sort of an amazing scene back then. But I decided that was when I thought, do you know what I'm going to do? Is I'm going to get a job in telly even more, so I don't have to stand in this bar serving people who are absolutely off their face. So when you were growing up, apart from the rave culture, did you identify as anything? Were you a mod or casual or anything like that?
Mod, yeah.
Were you?
Yeah, scooter boy, mod. That was it. I think I was a punk for about 10 minutes when I was 10.
Yeah.
I used to put margarine in my hair, and just didn't happen though. And it just didn't go around, because I bought a pair of brothel creepers, and I had this Sid Vicious Dead T-shirt, the front cover of the Sun when it happened. Yeah. And it didn't go down well with my mates or anybody else around my area, really. Punk, even back in 1982, it was still quite a bit weird. So I got into the Jam, and then turned into a mod, and didn't look back, really. There's so much in it. Still is, Yeah. And it does kind of steer your decisions a little bit. It's if it's not very tasteful, then you're not going to do it. Yeah. That's how I look at it.
So I'm going all over the place here, but when you said you were in bands originally, what sort of music were you doing then? If you were influenced by the Jam and stuff,
we were doing doing R&B, old '60s R&B and stuff, and then mixed in with what was. When Weller did his solo stuff, he kind of introduced that whole thing to everybody else. Neil Young, the American hippie sound, the late '60s, obviously the Small Faces, psychedelia, and everybody started listening to stuff like that. Yeah. My mates did anyway, because we didn't know anything like that. I didn't. So, Paul Weller was a good educator like that. Because that's all you had. You either had the Jam at school, or it was Spandau Ballet, something like that, So it was, there wasn't any kind of rock influence. The grammar schools, the posher places, they kind of tended to have people that listened to stuff like that, So it was all new, So yeah.
I love the idea though of the eureka moment when you eventually find your voice and what you want to do. I love that concept because it's so far away from anything else anybody's really doing.
So far away from any methods these days. People are just too eager to get noticed and too eager to sell units, and I don't think people think about it a lot. Even with the bands that are, portrayed these days currently as being good, you're like, nah, it's no good. You're not thinking about it. You know what I mean? You're not looking into it. You're just going with a marketing machine, Yeah. And that can blind people and give them a false idea of the reality of the thing they're stood behind. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Nicky Wire from Manic Street Preachers once said, and I love this thing. He said everyone's getting too good at playing their instruments and everything, and he said music's not about how well you can do it; it's about ideas.
Oh God,
I've quoted him badly there, by the way, but he said it's about the idea, and he goes, people are forgetting that. He says some of my favourite bands couldn't play their instruments, and it's kind of like that's great,
Exactly.
It's how it all starts. A lot of the bands I loved when I was younger, they just were a group of guys who didn't know what they were really doing and just started going, we've got an idea, let's do it, let's do some ska or whatever. That's right.
I think also what motivates good ideas is pain, and experience and being honest with yourself. Those things are really, if you've got those things in place and you're looking at stuff and you're wanting to formulate ideas, sooner or later you're going to come up with something good if you stick at it, you know what I mean? But, you talk to a lot of people, and it's just this. What they're doing is one-dimensional. What they're saying is cliched. You think you're just not tapping into it. You're not tapping into yourself. You know what I mean?
How do you do the writing process then? How do you actually go about making the tracks?
I just get Andrew to send me some music these days. He'll send me stuff over, and I'll work on it. I'll work on every bit he sends over, and I've got to a point now where he sends stuff over, and I won't even bother rejigging it when we go to record it. I'll just write a song over that whole idea, and we'll bang it down. A couple of things we've edited, but you know, he's got a good idea about the kind of things I look for, so he sends over more or less a sort of ready-formed piece of music. You know what I mean? It's got verse, chorus, middle eight, or whatever, you know, and then I'll just bang something over it.
So is the process becoming easier for you then?
No, it's not becoming easier, because you have to, the more we keep doing this, the more you have to keep trying new stuff out. And it's always scary trying to approach a bit of music and thinking, am I doing this well? Is this right? Am I, you know, do I sound like an idiot, or blah, blah, blah? Is it starting to become boring? Does it mean anything anymore? All of these things come into play, you know. But it's still good. It's still great, you know. I don't know if it's still fresh, because we go 5 years, but it's still banging. You know what I mean? Yeah,
I think it is. How do you think the press treat you?
Yeah, all right, I think.
They like you, don't they, because you're different?
They do, but the press are fickle. You got to watch yourself, you know. And a lot of the press aren't really interested a lot of the time. They just want things in magazines or papers just to keep whatever magazine or publication going, you know. Yeah, they've got a little bit of a passion for it and they like it. But you know, there's an art to being an editor. There's an art to being a writer. And, you know, journalists and magazines, organisations like that are more tuned into that art than they are what we do. So it's a meeting of minds when you collaborate with a magazine or a paper. It necessarily isn't something that they're doing because they really love you either. You know, it's they really love what they're doing. They'll take what you're doing because it's remotely interesting, but they can just brush it off. You know, it can be really hurtful sometimes.
There's so small amount of music press now, though, isn't it? And there's no actual. Is there any magazines left now? They've all gone digital now, haven't they? The NME.
Yeah, they have. Yeah, everything virtually. I mean, there's a few bits left.
Yeah, I don't want to sound like an old man here, but the music press is where you used to get bands who used to say stuff.
Yeah.
And it was quite cool because you could read it and hear what people's opinions were on the world.
Sure.
That's sort of gone now. So it means when you say stuff, you've either got to go online and do social media, 140 characters or whatever they is now, 200 and something. Is it 280 characters now? Or you're basically going to get picked up by the broadsheets who on their culture sections will write about the Sleaford Mods, the Guardian, the Telegraph, the Independent and stuff like that. But is that where your audience are reading? I mean,
I don't know. I think with cross section, really, we got fans that would be Guardian readers, I assume. You know.
Yeah. But I mean, that's a strange place that you have to go to hear what a band's got to say, isn't it?
It's a little bit, yeah. I mean, the Guardian music thing is probably one of the biggest platforms now.
It is, yeah.
That and physical magazines, probably Q is the biggest magazine alongside Mojo. And then you've got, you know, lots of little freebie magazines underneath it that are fresher, more, not open-minded, but they pick up on other things that probably the main music magazines wouldn't. Crack, Loud and Quiet, Clash, I think Clash is just online. But Crack and Loud and Quiet, they're physical as well, and they're free, you know what I mean? And they're good, and they pick up on lots of bands that are sort of trying to come through, you know.
How do you feel about social media?
Yeah, it's bad news, you know. It's just like lager, it's just like drugs, isn't it? It's like...
it is just hard work.
Like an 8.2% pint of whatever, innit? I could taste it now. But yeah, no, it does work. Facebook, MySpace, it transformed my audience, our audience. Facebook transformed our audience. Twitter, you know, these things have been instrumental in getting the music out there to more people. But it's starting to eat itself now with how people are on there. you know, with how you are towards people. And if people just, you know, someone can turn and say, yeah, your new tune, mate, shit. It crushes you. It's like, and all you want to do is chop them into several thousand pieces, bury them in the back garden, and you spend so much time just dwelling on that. And it's like, well, what's the point of me doing this if all I'm doing is ignoring my kids, ignoring my wife, ignoring this nice house that I've been able to buy, you know, ignoring the beautiful sun in the sky. All I'm thinking about is you know, getting a machete out to Dave from Stanford or wherever. You know what I mean? It's like,
I love
it's
it.
not good.
I love it because I've been saying, I was saying on this podcast for a long time, I said, like, I always thought I was thick-skinned, and I realised recently I'm thin-skinned when it comes to social media and stuff. And then I had to start explaining, it's not because I sit in the corner crying, it's because I want to tear their heads off.
Yeah.
And I want to rip their,
Yeah.
because they've said something to me.
Completely.
And it's that. And then I get angry with myself that I've let some idiot on the keyboard like
definitely
have a pop at me, and it's
but
actually affecting me.
You know,
it does, you know.
I have issues with low self-esteem. I mean, you know, you talked
we
about
all
depression.
do.
We all do.
Yeah.
So it's like I have massive issues with it. So if someone turns around and says, "You crap, mate," I mean, it doesn't necessarily bother me because I know I'm not, but then it does.
Yeah.
Winds you up.
Well, it's the one I get. I'm giving the listeners a good idea here, though, or viewers on YouTube. But the ones I get where I used to really like you, used to be really good. What happened and things like that. That's the one which really graced me. It's like, what? You used to let me know you don't, and now you're saying I'm shit. It's the subtle ones.
It's like,
Lovejoy, you're a knob or a wanker or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm sort of all right. It's the subtle ones that get
I'm
me
a big fan of your band, but I know where this is going.
Do you engage with it?
Yeah.
I stopped.
I was really good at engaging 2 or 3 years ago.
I mean, engage with the bad stuff, or
yeah,
you do.
I look for the bad stuff. I would search my name on Twitter, just to cause arguments. Yeah, back in the day, like, and my wife was like, "What are you doing?" Yeah. She'd be like, "What are you doing? You're insane. What are you doing?" Just to have an argument. You're looking for the bad things because you're feeling pissed off. Yeah. You're down. You're looking for something to kick off about. You know.
So would you say you're addicted to it? Are you still addicted to it?
Well, I don't post anything random anymore. I just post promo stuff now.
Right, okay.
I got back into posting stuff this time last week, arguing about whatever, you know, bad mouthing other bands and then getting it tenfold off all their fans. And it's just too much. It's too stressful because you can't, you know, get a machete out to 2,000 people, can you? It's impossible.
Do you think though, when you've had a pop at another band, do you ever sit there and think, why did I do that? Why did I bother?
Yeah. Well, Claire, my wife is just like, look, if you're going to put negative stuff out there, you're going to get it back. And
that's a good point.
It's time and time again. If you say anything negative, you're going to get it back. And you know, it's basic mathematics. So say something nice, and you'll get nice things back. Well, that's boring, isn't it? It's like, oh, hi. Yeah, it's boring. Hi, guys. No. Yeah. It's boring.
What gets me, though, is with the celebrity culture on Twitter, is when they start, the celebrity, when they start talking about, then they start doing a lot of politics, and they get a bee in their bonnet, and I think to myself, I can't believe you'll keep on going on this because you're not changing people's minds.
No.
They've made their mind up. You're going to put this view out there and you're just going to be hammered by one side and the other side are going to love you. And I think, especially with Brexit and stuff, you think, what's the point in this?
That's one thing. It's a good point. That's one thing that made Twitter, it started getting too much, where you get on there and you just see injustice after injustice after injustice, news clippings or a link to whatever article. And then obviously the argument between Leavers and Remainers, you know. Yeah. And all of that business. And it's just a revolving circle. It's just a shouting factory, as someone termed it the other week, which I thought was spot on. It is. It's just become that. And it's not solving anything. What's it solving? I mean, you can go on Twitter and learn things. Don't give me, if you follow... Who said to me? A mate said to me the other day, follow nice people. You'll be all right. And everything, Twitter's all right. Just follow nice people. Yeah. But you don't. You know, eventually they get through.
Yeah, I follow a lot of politicians and I follow a lot of people. But I do learn stuff, you're right. I went through a stage, though, Jason, where I had a back operation and I just had to lie in that floor out in there. And I got bored of watching TV and I got bored of reading, and I got bored of podcasts. I got bored of everything after a while because I was lying there. And social media became such an addiction. I had such a problem with it.
Yeah.
I actually was just refreshing all my social media stuff constantly that I got a blister on my finger, and I looked at it and I thought, what the am I doing
What are you
here?
doing? I know.
And I had to. What's that thing called? Grayscale. Grayscale my phone. Do you know that? You grayscale your phone means it goes black and white, so the colours stop looking at you. And I had to. I honestly
pulling out all the stops here.
I had to do everything because I tried to get rid of my phone at one stage. Went down the shop and asked for the old Nokia, and the guy goes, "Oh, yeah, you can have it, but he goes, you can't listen to podcasts and do anything like that." I was like, I can't do that because I love my podcast.
No, a couple of my mates have tried that. Yeah, I'm on the old Nokia phone.
Yeah.
Oh, are you? All right then. Help yourself then. Bye.
Yeah. But what I realised recently, actually, about the music industry, I thought this the other day, Apple have ruined my music. I used to have a good collection of albums because I used to DJ a bit and stuff, 12 inches and stuff.
Yeah.
I obviously moved on to CDs, had a good CD collection. Then I had a good collection of everything where I put it online. And then we had the iPods. And then when it went to the iPhone and the music went on the phone, and then there was only so much memory, and I got my photos and everything, I realised my music collection is just appalling now because it's just spitty all over the place of nothingness now. And I've got the streaming service, and I tend now just to go podcast because I can get some information in my head and do that, and then I'll listen to some stuff. But it's crap now. It used to be so much easier. When it
used to be quite uniform, didn't it?
Yeah.
You kind of felt like you had something.
How's it from the other end, from an artist point of view?
Yeah, I haven't bought an album for ages. I got Spotify and that was it. And it's like, you just don't, I thought I'll get Spotify, but what I'll do is I'll listen to something. If I like it, I'll go and buy it.
Yeah.
But no, that stopped,
But from your point of view, though, is it important? Your videos are good, aren't they? I always think they're good because they're always interesting to watch, And do you think that is an important thing when you're putting those up?
Don't know, I've been even thinking, do you need a video? We didn't do a video for the last single. You get a bit sick of them. And I don't know, are people going to watch it? I mean, people do watch it, but you just feel like there's so much on offer as soon as you turn your phone on or your laptop or whatever, that our video is just going to get lost in the sea of it all eventually, and it just makes you think, well, why bother? I know it's a bit negative thinking like that, but
because you're good to watch,
because
you're energetic, and you're a front man who is you've got expression.
Bless you, thank you.
You mean it. I think that's kind of important these days because, as you say, there's a lot of them. I don't want to be sort of down on the music industry, but there's a lot of people who are doing it for money.
Yeah,
and it's really quite nice when you actually see someone. Actually, you talk about Libertines earlier. I quite like the Libertines at that stage where they were had no money because they were just turning up and gigging and they were playing in people's houses and they were doing whatever. I mean, I went to a Libertines gig once and the microphone fell on the floor. First ever Libertines gig I went to, the microphone fell on the floor, and rather than pick it up, they both went down and sung into the microphone on the floor, and I went, I like these guys. And then Pete went off the stage, I think, in a bad mood, and so Carla did it all, and I'm like, that's kind of like, it's kind of like, because they don't even like each other. That's kind of cool,
I mean, when it's like that, when it's natural like that, because it was chaotic, obviously, and enhanced by, without trying to offend anyone, probably lots of bad ideas, but bad decisions or whatever.
Yeah.
But when it's like that, completely natural, it's fantastic. You can't touch it, you can't beat it. You know what I mean?
Well, I think Pete was really living the writing and the music and the lifestyle. He was actually living it, wasn't he? He was one of those people who was meant. It was meant something to. Speaking of which, you write short stories, yeah?
Yeah.
What do you do with them, and do they cross over into the music at all?
Yeah, they do a bit. On the new EP, there's a tune called Gallows Hill, and there's a new short story I've written called of the same name. I've got a new book coming out called Happy Days. It's 13, yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh.
See, no one was convinced there. You know what I mean? But there isn't much. I mean. So I've got 13 new stories under that title coming out, and Gallows Hill is one of them. And sometimes it does go into your songs, but they're all from experience, or they're all from experiences, observations that I've, you know, been party to or whatever, you know. So
what makes you want to do those though? I mean, it's a brilliant idea.
I don't know. I mean, the songwriting, I started writing articles when the band took off for Vice and stuff like that, and I did a couple for The Guardian, and I started quite enjoying writing. It was something that it wasn't. I was doing all right with it. You know what I mean? So, which was quite surprising because I didn't do very well at school at all. You know, and I was never really academic. So, so I did. Somebody suggested that I start writing them. You know, I did a little bit of a short story on the website, Sleaford Mods website, and somebody got in touch and said it's brilliant. You should do stories. So I did. So I wrote some out. I initially had an agent, but it was just going down. You know, no disrespect to the guy, but he wanted me to be more like, you know, all of the greats that had been before. You know, and you know, in that vein, you know, and I don't read any books by fictional writers anyway. You know, I'm not really Bret Easton Ellis. I've touched on, and that's it. You know. Do
you read fat books? Do you read books?
Yeah, I have done. Yeah, I've not read as much lately. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm obsessed with that. I read a lot for this podcast because I have to interview a lot of authors on this, all about things going on in the world, and I always think I should be bothered to read their books first if I'm going to interview them, and I do, and I kind of enjoy it, but I've never really got into fiction. So, but how do you write fiction if you're not that into it? Does it just come quite naturally?
You just make it up. You just start. Well, obviously, of course you do. Jesus Christ. Yeah, I mean. I don't know, you just take things. There's so many things that have happened in my life that are just like, whoa, that's fantastic or not fantastic, you know. It's a challenge to see if you can put that down, you know what I mean? And just the normality of everything, the crushing feeling you get from normal existence on a day-to-day basis, you know, of working, going home, and it's just so morbid and completely oppressive that it's almost majestic. It's almost brilliant, you know. Yeah. So to actually try and record that try and get that into stories, which is what I do or I've been trying to do, is really enjoyable. You know, it's like
What do you do for leisure time apart from
nothing?
You don't know?
Nothing.
Do you not sit and watch Netflix?
Of course I do, yeah.
Do you?
Netflix. We've recently bought a TV, actually. And we never had a TV.
Really?
Because Claire was like, we don't need one. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, so we didn't have, and we just watch stuff on the laptop, you know what I mean? Yeah. We put the laptop on a chair and sit in front of it. And so we got a TV for the kids, you know. Really, so but yeah, honestly, it's like a revelation, isn't it? It's like, you got one of those bass bin things, you know, I think you put in the corner, and you got your sound bar, haven't you?
Yeah, you've got one of those.
It's like proper. So,
what do you watch on Netflix then? What are you into?
Been watching Ozark.
Oh, it's good, isn't it?
It's absolutely brilliant, isn't it?
Good. Who's that guy? I love his acting. What's his name? Bateman. Is that Jason Bateman?
That the main guy?
Yeah, I love his acting.
He's fantastic.
I love him. Yeah,
I'm just like, whoa! I'm going to do that then. I'm going to be a drug dealer or something and just walk around and just accept stress like that. Because it's just brilliant, isn't it?
See, what I thought you meant there was that an actor. You went, no, I'll be the drug dealer. Hey, you should do some acting. Would you be good?
I've done a bit.
Have you? What have you done?
I was in Ian Morris's new film. You know, the guy, one of the guys responsible for The In-Betweeners.
Yeah.
He's just released a new film called The Festival.
Oh, yeah. All right. We had Joe, Thomas, that's it. Yeah, he was on the show, my Sunday brunch show, talking about it. Yeah. Yeah, looks good. Have you seen it? Any good?
I've not seen it yet.
Right,
no,
okay.
Sorry, Ian. I've not seen it yet. I've just not had time to go to the cinema, you know. So
did you enjoy doing that then?
Yeah, it's fantastic. I was at Copper for, I don't know, I've not seen it, but it took all day, but I've got a few lines in it. Yeah, it's brilliant.
Well, you'd be good at it because when you do your songs, you're expressive. You live in the song, which is what's great about it, and you can then transfer that onto being an actor, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I tried doing acting when I was younger. I tried getting in drama schools for a couple of years.
Did you?
Yeah, I was working. I left school, worked for a year, and then went to college. Did drama A-level GCSE in that.
Right.
I really liked it.
Did you? I tried acting. I hated it.
Mate, I tell you, trying to get into dramas, forget it. I was
Really?
like, no, bye then. You know, because it was just, you need a scholarship, you need this. Oh, how much is it without a scholarship? Oh, it's this. Forget it. You know?
It's expensive. Business, isn't it? Yeah.
And most of the people there, bless them, you know, no disrespect, but all of them, they were well-spoken, came from, you could tell that it was something that was there on the options table right from the word off. So it's an hard game, you know. But there are a lot of lower class people that have obviously got into drama schools. So.
Ray Winston.
Yes.
Yeah. Actually, did he go to drama school? I'm not
I
sure.
don't know.
Did,
actually, was he in a? There was a. I don't know.
No, he might. I don't know. He's brilliant though. I love Ray. He's such a top bloke. Nice to spend time with. So just going back to your gym where we started off. Are you addicted to that as you get to everything else? Does it become a real passion?
Yeah, I need to go. If I don't go, I'll get really moody.
Do you set yourself goals? Are you trying to work your way up the weights, or are you just going for?
No, not really. I mean, the PT was like, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I want a Baywatch body." He went, "Yeah, no problem." Well, you know, you're pretty trim already, so a couple of years we'll have that.
But that's all anyone wants. Like, I mean, the people who go to the gym and go, "Yeah, I'm trying to get strong." No, you're not. You're trying to look good with your shirt off.
Yeah, big time. That's all it is. It's just pure vanity.
Yeah.
But there's also something quite. It's quite funny. It's like, oh God, what are you doing that for? You know, it's like, why not?
Yeah.
You know, why not? If I want a pair of tits, I want a pair of tits. If I want a six-pack, I'll get a six-pack. What's wrong with that? Yeah. It's a lot better than sitting at the back of the garden, you know, smoking on a pipe, if you know what I mean, 24/7. No way, I can't do that, you know what I mean?
So do you do cardio as well, or are you just doing weights?
Just weights. Cardio I do once a week, because if I do too much, you don't put muscle on, do you? So it's like,
are you trying to get? I've always said I'd like to have like a stone, and not for too long, but like a stone or two bigger on, just for I'd like it for 6 months where I was absolutely mad.
You could.
I've got a couple of mates like it, but I just couldn't be arsed with all the eating and stuff. That's
the eating comes naturally because you want to eat, because your body, you know, first few weeks I did it, I was like, oh God, I'm having a panic attack. What's up? Oh, I'm on the phone, like, babe, I'm having a panic attack. What's up? You just haven't eaten because you've been lifting. Your body's just like, you need to feed me.
Yeah.
And the more you lift, the more you eat. And so it goes hand in hand. But, you know, don't get me wrong, I don't want to be massive. I'm not going to walk around like, you know, Gold's Gym vest on or something. But it's like, just to look trim, you know, so I can still keep wearing suits or whatever, you know what I mean?
You should turn up at the Roundhouse just in a vest, a singlet, a Gold's Gym singlet. Do some of that. That'd be funny. Actually, interestingly, who's that? Bear Grylls said he used to think training was 80% exercise, 20% diet. Now he realises it's something like 80% diet, 20%
forget
exercise.
it. If you're eating, you know, crap, for want of a better word, forget it.
And I don't know, Andy Peters, the presenter, he came on my show once, and he's absolutely. We should put some pictures up. He's so ripped. I mean, he's got an amazing body. And I said to him, "How do you do that?" He goes, "Everything is made in the kitchen, Tim, not in the gym." And I went, okay, it's all about what you're eating.
It's all about what you're eating. It seriously is, you know. And you can, I mean, I don't weigh my grub out or anything, but I'm not, as long as I'm looking firm, I'm all right, trim, you know what I mean?
Trim.
I can wear a T-shirt, you know, so...
Manuka honey, that's what'll do it. So
thank you so much for that.
That's a pleasure. So tell us about before we get to our questions, we ask everyone, tell us about the gigs at the Roundhouse then, 21st and 22nd. That must be amazing that you're doing those gigs now.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. We played the Roundhouse a few times with the specials and on our own. We did the Q Awards last year. We played with Manic Street Preachers. It was, it's a great venue.
What's it like for your sound in there? Is it brilliant?
Sounds not great in there, you know, because it's an old building, and it's got a massively. The ceiling's obviously really high. And the sound just goes all around, but you know, you get into it. Yeah,
I'm sure the crowd are going to love that. You're also playing the 30th at the Nottingham Royal Concert Hall.
We are, much to the disgust of. I'm not going there. I'm not sitting down. We don't, you know, you need to stand up. It's like, hold on, none of you dance anyway. What are you on about? You're all like 50 plus. I don't see any kind of footloose business going off when we're doing gigs, so you can just pipe it in, you know what I mean? It's like, shut it. Yeah, well, it's posh, you know. So what if someone said, you've sold out? Like, what you on about?
Sold out. I hate that.
£5. I mean, it's £5 extra than it normally is, but the venue charge, the cost of hiring that venue is a lot more than, say, Rock City in Nottingham. But we've done Rock City 5 times, and it's like...
The one thing, I keep saying this, I got accused of selling out. So when I left Sky TV, Murdoch commercial station, to go and work on the BBC, I was accused of selling out because I went to terrestrial TV. But you always get accused of selling out, and I hate that expression. There was a comic I was listening to on, I think I was listening to on Seinfeld's Comedians in Cars Drinking Coffee on Netflix, who said he hates it when people say they sell out. He goes, he's travelled all around the world, and everywhere you go, there's kids in Nike trainers, and he goes, Reebok would fucking love to sell out that much.
Defo.
Jesus, the idea is to get as many people listening to your music and enjoying it and doing it and whatever your art is.
It is, you know. Yeah. I mean, you know, sell out is usually coming from someone that's just miserable. Do you know what I mean? Sat in their ass.
I do those Teenage Cancer Trust gigs at the Royal Albert Hall every year.
Okay.
And I host them, and it just... It's that sort of thing. It's a beautiful venue there, and the bands love it because they come down and go, Jesus Christ,
it's a great venue. Isn't it? Yeah, it's a great venue.
And the crowds love it. So I think everyone will love being at the Nottingham Royal Concert Hall. It'd be fantastic for them.
Yeah, it'd be a good laugh.
Good laugh. Right, okay, let's ask you the questions that I ask everyone. What one piece of advice would you like to give our listeners that has been invaluable to your life?
Put it down and go home. Go home, shut up and go home.
All right. What's the biggest mistake you've ever made?
Not putting it down and not just excess, thinking without doing without thinking about consequences. You know, all of the time, not listening to the inner voice, so to speak.
All right. Any life hacks?
Life hacks.
They could be like, I don't know, travel tips or anything like that. Exercise tips. What about some gym tips? Have you got any of
those? Gym tips. Don't expect to enjoy it. Not for the first few months. But just if you're miserable, if you're feeling down, try exercise. Gyms are fairly cheap. Do you know what I mean? Running costs nothing.
Yeah.
You know, you can buy a decent pair of running shoes for under 50 quid. You know what I mean? Get out.
Do you know what? That was the biggest problem with my life is when I was feeling low not so long ago, and then I had the bad back and I couldn't exercise. That is just that, because to me always was feel low, exercise, run, go to the gym, do something. You feel better.
Yeah.
Suddenly you don't get that, and you just sit there going, I've got no outlet. Oh God! And I was going mental.
What was wrong with it?
I had a bulging disc in it because and it was on the spine. It was gave me sciatica. I eventually had an operation on it. But I met a physio recently. He went, there was no need to do that, Tim. You just need a bit of this, bit of that. I don't know.
Okay.
Everyone's got an opinion.
And you're okay now?
I'm getting there. Yeah, my foot's still a bit numb, but I can do most things. I've just not tried going back doing long runs again. I used to just, when I was feeling really low, I'd just go for a 10k run. Doesn't matter how I felt, I'd just go because I knew when I got back from a 10k run, the world was all right.
Bang, yeah.
So that was what I'd do, and I think it hurt me, but there you go. Recommend a book. Have you got a book you can recommend?
I'll tell you what, I haven't. Not really. I can't really. Don't know. Last book that blew me away, and I don't read that much. Don't know. American Psycho, and that was like 20 years ago. That just killed me. That book.
I read that one. That was big at the time. That and the Dice Man. Do you remember that book,
The Dice Man? I read, but wasn't that? I don't know. It didn't get me as much as that. Just whole chapters on like Huey Lewis in the news. Just bizarre, and like the descriptions of all the other business was just. It was horrible. But
the Dice Man was weird. I was working in a restaurant at the time, and for anyone who doesn't know what it is, it's a guy who decides to do his whole life through throwing a dice, or die, whatever it is you're supposed to say. And a load of guys I worked at the restaurant, you know, it's like working with all the waiters and stuff. They were a bit mental, and they were like going, let's just live our lives by the dice. So they started doing it. So every single decision they did was by a roll of a dice, and it was just got some really freaky results to that. They had quite an interesting life. I didn't bother joining in. I was too busy trying to work in telly. But they were sort of just doing some really mental. They end up eating and drinking and doing really weird things with throwing dice.
Yeah.
You know, weird and wonderful. Right. final couple of questions. What's it like being famous?
Am I? Would you say I am?
Yeah. I
Dunno.
suppose you're like famous in the in the music circles and stuff.
Yeah.
Definitely, everyone knows you.
Yeah. It's buzz. It was a buzz, you know. It's like anybody would like it, wouldn't they? Oh, all right, mate. Are you blocked? Yeah, I am. Yeah. yeah, I am. Yeah. So yeah, it was a buzz, and now it's still good. It's nice. I can't believe it's happened. Still, it's still like a dream. It is really. It's a dream come true, definitely. But it's still like I can't believe it happened to me. I never thought it would. I really didn't. I thought just wasn't good enough. You know what I mean? It's not going to happen. But it did, and for Andrew as well. It's like both of us are immensely proud of what we've done,
Yeah.
But at the same time, we never talk about it much. You know what I mean? And
does he enjoy doing it, Andrew? Does he enjoy?
Yeah,
that
he does. Yeah, he
yeah.
moans, but so do I. We both moan, but we have a laugh together. We're just sitting in airports laughing all year round. Laughing at stupid things. It does get exhausting. It gets frustrating. It can be lonely. It can be infuriating. But, for the most part, we're living this time in our lives, spending a lot of time together. Steve, our manager as well, and Ray, the sound man, we just travel around like four old blokes, you know what I mean? And just taking a piss out of each other and having a laugh,
But when you get off stage, you've obviously put a lot more in than Andrew, haven't you?
No, he's God. Is this live? Because if he might be round if you just say that. I'm telling you. No, I mean he sweats over that music, and then he'll throw it to me. I'll sweat over the lyrics. I'm a little bit more physical on stage. Yeah,
Christ, you go for it.
But if you put yourself in his shoes.
Yeah, right.
My man's got to stand there behind his laptop, and he's listening out for any mistakes I make. He's also connecting with the music. It's harder, I think, because he's on show more. You know what I mean? He's exposed more because he's not, for what the audience sees, he's not really doing a lot, but he is, you know. And it's every night, and he's properly professional. But yeah, I do a lot, but I don't know, I'm the singer, aren't I? I suppose I'm the one they look at.
I repeat again, if you ever get a chance, go and see Sleaford Mods live, because it's such a good experience. It's really, really fascinating. I love the way the crowd sort of like are in awe and interact with it all. I love it. It's brilliant. What is the meaning of life? Final question.
The meaning of life. What is the meaning of life? I don't know. Just don't try and aim for too much perfection, I guess, and don't try and think you've got to be happy all the time, because it's just not like that. And it's chaos. It's utter chaos, and you've just got to be strong and look after your own. You got to be you got to look out for your own.
So someone said to me recently, I like this. It's not what happens to you; it's how you deal with it. Because everyone has shit happen to them. Of course, everyone's got someone dying around them. Because that's just life.
I mean, people, we're kind of heading towards something. We don't know what's going to happen next March, but Brexit, it's nothing really in comparison to the chaos that is there all of the time. In your day-to-day decisions, in what's thrown at you. Brexit's just going to be something else that's going to be thrown at us. But who knows? You know what I mean? It's such a massive debate, isn't it? And the nature of politics itself.
Is there an afterlife? Do you think?
Don't know. Probably not. No, I think you just go, don't you? I think you'll just, you'll go into the ground. You'll end up being a tree or something. It's just the way it is. It just gets recycled, doesn't it? I'm not sure about any kind of divine manager, so to speak. I can understand why people put their passions into a faith, and you have to be careful to not criticise people like that, because it is easy to do that. But it's their choice. But no, I can't be doing with anything like that. I just think you're going to the ground. And
do you feel because because you're social commentary, you do social commentary and stuff. Do you feel that you get people who are sort of kind of this is the wrong word, but sort of worship you? They sort of buy into Sleaford Mods as you're their spokesperson. You're
they do, yeah. And I didn't want to admit that, but yeah, they do. Yeah, some people do, because I did with Weller, with loads of people, loads of bands I've been into. I place my trust in them, and I form some of my principles from the influence that I've got from them. So and that's what people are doing with us, I think. You know, some people are, some people online are really nice and a little bit like, whoa, you don't have to look into it that much, but people do, you know.
Does that carry responsibility though? Do you feel pressure?
Not really. As long as you don't sort of go around their ass and piss up the door, you know, it's like, I don't think you've got a responsibility to them at all, you know. It's like you just do your thing, and if it's something that eventually they start saying that it's not very good, well, whatever, you know. While the going's good, the going will be good, won't it? You know.
Yeah. Jason, thanks so much for doing this.
Thank you for
I've really enjoyed
me.
it. If people want to follow you, it's what's the Twitter address again? It's just
at Sleaford Mods.
Sleaford Mods. Go to the website if you want to buy tickets or the EP out at the moment. Is it?
If you could, there's an EP out tomorrow. Sleaford Mods, entitled Sleaford Mods, 5 tracks on Rough Trade Records. So that's out tomorrow, and you can buy that from Rough Trade, the Rough Trade website, or anywhere. You know, just put it into Google, bang.
Brilliant.
Thank you
a lot,
very much.
mate. Top man. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks.